चले आप ज़्यादा ऑफ हो
4 मिनट
हाँ
बस
आ जाएंगे
चलो
इनसे बात कर लीजिए वहाँ से वापस नहीं अब की जाए
अभी था
आज नहीं हिजला विरार आज की नहीं।
आज थोड़ी किस वक्त
आपको फोन करके तो आप मुझे गाड़ी ले जाना है
इस वक्त रात अच्छा काम
कहाँ है
ये माउंटेन सून ये है 222 का भी है ग्रीन बुक तुम्हारी तो आराम होगी
मेरी आराम हो गई
बोलो आप
हम लोग को पढ़ाएंगे 13 and 34 volts.
जी जाओ
Assalamu alaikum.
टाइम चेंज हुए हम जल्दी आएंगे
नहीं सही टाइम
थोड़ा फाइव पे हो
एकदम सही टाइम था
खाली बात से
ये फरिश्ते हैं
हाँ नजर आ रहे हैं
3 मिनट बाद रिश्ता का
ये जो आगे है शरीर या तो
अभी नहीं है 43 हुआ है
ये घड़ी में लगी हुई है आगे
हाँ झुका जाए
जी हाँ कब हो गया मूवी देखी कौन सी
उसका नाम था
अच्छा
बच्चा मोहब्बत से मोहब्बत करता है तो साहिब हो माफ कर दो साहिब उसका कोई नाइट होता है बड़ा क्या कर रहे हैं उसको उसमें अच्छा लग रहा है पूरा गाँव जो है वो अल्लाह के नाम पे गरीब होते हैं मतलब शादी का गाँव के लेना वो
हम लोग यहाँ कुछ महबूब भाई को बना रहे आपको जाफर नकवी ने फोन नहीं किया कोई नहारी वगैरह नहीं
मैं आप पहले आप पहले ना फिर आप
फिर अभी आज अब अगर आएंगे तो उनको बोलेंगे अनवर भाई आ गए ना अजल के लिए मैंने कहा अनवर भाई आ गए संडे को संडे दूध के अगर आ गए सलाम अलैकुम कहाँ थे आप रुआ नहीं आए लंबी कहानी बात कर रही है
मज़ेदार जगह है ना
यहाँ सुबह आज भी पढ़ा रहे हैं
तो सवेरे उठ के वही नाश्ता करे फटाफट खा के ब्लड टेस्ट कराने के लिए हो गया क्या है बोला वापस भी आगे जाना होगा इस बार आगे दवाई नहीं आखिरी घड़ी में दूध एक और आएगा हाँ तो फिर MATP कल डॉक्टर ने बोला है शायद 8 إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل محمد وآل محمد سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأعمال حي على خير الأعمال. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي قارا ورزق دارا وولادي أبرارا واجعل عند قبر نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء. تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم. كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت. وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه ماس العباد في الخلوات. سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه. يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء. تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفو تفضل. ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين. من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرقا. وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى. قد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من عمل صالحا فلنفسه ومن أساء فعليها وما ربك بظلام للعبيد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited for you in this khutbah is from Surah Fussilat, ayat number 46. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayat addresses by saying, Man amila salihan fali nafsihi. दरवाज़ा बंद करते हैं ये फैकवान सल्लल्लाहु मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद. Man amila salihan fali nafsihi. Whoever acts righteously, it is for the benefit of his own soul. Meaning when you do good, it is benefiting you. وَمَنْ أَسَاءَ فَعَلَيْهَا. And whoever does evil, it is to its detriment, to your own self. وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And of course, your Rabb, your Lord, is not tyrannical, oppressor to his servants. The discussion will revolve around the concept of amal salih. What is a righteous deed? And in given environment that we are going through, the sense of righteousness and amal salih and what is its demand from us. Because even a small injustice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the God Almighty, is like great injustice, right? When you do an action which is against Allah, against His command, regardless of how small or big or minute it is considered to be big because it is against the great Almighty. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not use the word وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَالِمٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. He said وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Wallam refers to mean very oppressive. It's that superlative degree, that mubalagha. Zallam comes from mubalagha, meaning it's just beyond zulm that you can't even imagine. Search for the root of bitter and sweet events in your own actions. When we do something, search for the bitter and sweet in your own actions. Do not attribute to others. Why? Because it's so easy to say, well, so-and-so did it. That's why I ended up doing this. So-and-so made me. So-and-so caused it. I heard that, so I reacted. I saw that happening, so I jumped in. All of these is removing the blame from your own soul. So do not attribute to others. Do not attribute to Allah. Some people say, oh, Allah made me do it. As Banu Umayyah and the Banu Abbasids believed in. That everything that they did from, Karbala to all the other atrocities, because Allah made them do it. Allah, in other words, requested them, so they go ahead and carry out these atrocious actions. So don't blame it on others. Don't blame it on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Quran reminds us, when God honors and grants insan, He says, Rabbi akramani. Allah has indeed honored me. When Allah tightens the provision, He says, Rabbi ahanan. Allah has indeed disgraced me. No. Allah did not honor you when He gave it to you. Allah did not dishonor you when He took your provision away from you. You brought it on to yourself. The later ayat of Surah Fajr, these ayat are from Surah Fajr. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to this insan, He said, Rabbi akramani. Allah has honored me. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tightened the risk, He said, Rabbi ahana. Allah had indeed disgraced me. Kalla. The very next ayat is what? Kalla. No, that is not the case. Balla tukrimun al yatim. You brought it onto yourself by not taking care of the yatim. Wala tahaduna ala ta'amil miskin. Not taking care of feeding those who are the destitute. Tuhibbun al-mala aklan lamma. You used to love the wealth indiscriminately. وَتَأْكُلُونَ التُّرَاثَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. And you used to consume turath, the inheritance of the orphans, indiscriminately. This is the reason you brought this upon yourself. Don't say when Allah gives you that Allah has honored me, mashallah. Don't say when Allah takes it away, oh, Allah has disgraced me. Don't blame it on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't blame it on others. Don't blame it on people. In Qiyamah, the weak will say to the powerful, لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ لَكُنَّ مُؤْمِنِينَ. Those who are oppressed, those who are weak, tomorrow they will be saying in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ. If it wasn't for you, لَكُنَّ مُؤْمِنِينَ. We would have brought iman. The reason we didn't bring iman is because you caused oppression onto us and we had no choice but to leave this madhab. You are blameworthy. Don't blame it on your ancestors. As people would say, the deviant, they would not follow what Allah had revealed. They would reply, نَتَّبِعْ مَا وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ أَبَانَا. Oh, we're just following what our Aba wa Ajdad had done. We're just following their lead. We're just going what they said to us, as if it is written in stone and it cannot be altered. If my father has said this, this is going to happen. If my mother has said this, if my grandfather left this legacy, that's how it's going to be. That's how it is done in this household. No questions asked. Now, if it's a good thing, if it's a good legacy, then you appreciate it. But not everything that is left behind could be taken in that regard. Don't do not attribute your worries to the prophets, as the disbelievers considered that the prophets guilty, prophets were the ones who were guilty. They said to them, Inna tatayyarna bikum. Surah Yasin, you recite that. What they used to tell the prophets? You are the bad omen for us. Because of your wujud, we are suffering. Leave. Same thing happened to many of the Anbiya. People started blaming the Anbiya. Your wujud, Hazrat Musa is the prime example. Your wujud is causing us. If it wasn't for you, we would not be stuck over here in the middle of the sea. If it wasn't for you, Fir'aun would not be chasing us. If it wasn't for you, these are all the things Bani Israel said to Hazrat Musa ﷺ, quoted in Quran. So do not blame the Anbiya for your worries. Do not blame your parents. As Quran gave you freedom to say no to them in areas where their obedience is not obligatory. There's a clear-cut ayat in Quran which says, وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ. If they, fight you, in other words, they do jihad in telling you what? That to go ahead and associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about which they don't have the ilm. فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Do not obey them. Do not worship them. Do not listen to them when they're calling you toward what? Shirk. You have freedom to say no to them. So you can't blame your parents either for your woes and for your worries. Do not blame your false gods that you have created for yourself. Oh, it was because of this idol that I used to worship, I ended up being like this. Quranic ayat is very clear in this regard. La yanfa'ukum shay'an wa la yadurrakum. These idols that you have created, they can neither benefit nor harm you. There's no benefit nor harm as far as these idols are concerned. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If I can just ask all of you to please sit down and relax. There's a lot of commotion, not many of you, but just come and take a seat and sit down so that, khutbah can continue. Inshallah, I'll be very short and I'll be very concise. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Especially my elderly. Inshallah, we'll have time to chit-chat and talk afterwards, right? We will give you plenty of time, inshallah, after the Jummah is over. You can sit down and you can talk as much as you want to. But here, sitting in front of me, please refrain from any discussions. And if you have something important, you may step outside. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So don't blame your parents. Don't blame your false gods. They can neither benefit nor harm you. Don't even blame shaitan. Tomorrow you can turn around and say, oh, shaitan caused me to do this. And then shaitan will respond by saying what? Da'utukum fastajabtum. I called you and you responded and you said labbaik to me. While you could have easily said labbaik to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you chose to say labbaik to shaitan. Fala talumuni lumu anfusakum. Don't blame me. Blame your own selves. Blame your own souls. And lastly, do not attribute your woes to the society. Oh, because the ma'ashra bahut kharab tha. Society was bad. There were so many wrong things that were happening. How could we have survived in a place where left and right there are, things of haram nature that are happening? So you easily find the scapegoat and you do what? You go ahead and run away. It says what? The ayat responds by saying, just like the Pharaoh's wife who was in the environment of tyranny, right? Fear, and at the same time she was not attracted to anything that Pharaoh had to offer, and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me, take me out of, give me najat from the clan of Zalimeen. Imagine living in the house of Pharaoh, Fir'aun, the one who's saying, Ana Rabbukumul Ala. So don't blame the mu'ashara and the society either. How many things did we count? We counted, don't blame yourselves. Don't blame your friends. Don't blame Allah. Don't blame people. Don't blame your ancestors. Don't blame the prophets. Don't blame your parents. Don't blame your false gods. Don't blame shaitan. And don't blame the society. But who should you be then blaming? I'll recite the ayat that I recited in the beginning. Man amila salihan falinafsihi. Waman asa'a fa'alayha. Whoever acts righteously, it is for the benefit of his own soul. And whoever does evil, it is to its detriment. Whatever you do, you're causing that to happen. So, I said, the remaining discussion will be on amal salih, righteous deeds. As the ayat begins with it, man amila salihan. What is amal salih? Allah loves amal salih, the righteous amal or the righteous actions. There are several verses in Quran where good deeds are mentioned immediately after iman. Right? Amanu wa amilu salihat. Amanu wa amilu salihat. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. And of course there are many occasions. Amal and iman and amal salih is mentioned hand in hand. So here we understand one thing. Just having the mere belief is not enough. You need to put it into action as well. And just mere action is not enough if it's lacking that faith and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both need to be complemented. So, amal salih means a righteous deed, a beautiful and beneficial act, and an act seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Allah talks about salat, zakat, saum, hajj as obligations. But Allah then asks us for amal salih. He said, aqimus salat. Isn't salat not amal salih? Of course it is. So why did he then separately saying act salih as well? He asked us, kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting is obligatory. And then he says amal salih. He says do hajj. And then he says amal salih. All of these other actions are mentioned and then amal salih is mentioned separately. So here it makes you believe that while Allah talks about salat, zakat, saum, hajj and all these other obligations, but then he asks us for amal salih in addition to these fundamental actions that you must perform. So there's no question on that you have to perform these wajibat. But then on top of that, there's something else which is being referred to as amal salih. In light of current situation of atrocities that are taking place in Gaza and Palestine, it is more urgent now to renew our faith and revive our good actions. Right? Look at, because times change. At time of ease, amal salih, and at time of adversity, amal salih might have different impact. Anyone can give, when they're going through a good patch in their life. But giving even when you are suffering is a real deal. Anyone can survive in the given conditions when economy is flourishing. But to be able to remain content even when economy is the worst is the real skill. Anyone can survive, a family can survive if plenty is given to them on monthly basis. But the real skill is to be able to survive and be content with the bare minimum that is coming toward you. That is where the skill lies. Often civic engagement and calling elected leaders is called politics, which has become a dirty word. We believe saving lives is amal salih. You and I cannot save lives with our own hands of what's happening in Gaza. But you and I can definitely save lives by raising our voice. So then what it becomes? Your word becomes amal salih. That's how powerful your word is. That's how much worth and the weight your word carries if you were to use it and utilize it properly. So therefore your civic duty, standing up for justice, is amal salih. Is standing up for the struggling world in general and struggling ummah in particular for peace. Justice is not politics. It's amal salih. It's a righteous action. It's act of goodness. At times you feel helpless that we can't do anything. Maulana, what are you talking about? We're sitting over here. All these powerful nations are unable to do anything. You expect something will come out of us? Our protests or our voices or our tweets or our emails or... Fine. Need I remind you of all the stories of the past where the smallest of the animals, seeing Hazrat Ibrahim thrown into the fire, doing their job. There are different animals that are mentioned in riwayat. Some mentioned there was a small bird that carried water in its mouth to go ahead and drop it onto the fire that was burning, or Hazrat Ibrahim was sitting in the midst of it. Fire, mind you, was so big that they couldn't even get close to drop Hazrat Ibrahim into it. They had to fling him from far distance so he would land in the middle of the fire. So just imagine the size of the flames. And then so this bird wants to go ahead and put out this fire. Can it extinguish the fire with just a little bit of drop of water in its beak? Absolutely not. But should it stay away from its civic duty to go ahead and do this so that it will not be held accountable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tomorrow? Exactly the case. Nobody will say, well, this will not make any difference. Let it be. Maybe it doesn't make any difference. Maybe our speaking out doesn't make any difference whatsoever. In fact, it might even have a backlash. It might even bring some difficulties for you. It might even make your lives a little bit more challenging at workplaces, at schools. There was a study that was done which mentions that Muslim students in public schools in the United States face often discrimination because of their faith. And this is higher rate in girls than the boys. A report by Council on American Islamic Relations found that nearly half of Muslim students, 47.1% to be specific, reported being bullied for being Muslims. That is more than twice the reported national average of 20%. So don't think this is easy for them. When they go to school every single day, carrying a name, Muhammad and Ali and Abbas and Mehdi and whatnot, it's not easy for them. And then of course, our sisters, our girls, who are observing the hijab, and they're basically, without even mentioning their name, they are singled out amongst the crowd. So the easiest route would be for the parents, don't observe hijab. Don't do this, because then, of course, nobody will recognize you. You'll blend right in. Or, let's change our name to assimilate in the American society. So that way, we are called as Bob, and we're called as Rich, and we're called as, all of these names, so that, nobody will notice, oh, there's a Muslim behind it or not, right away. So this is the easy route out of it, the easy way out of it. At times we feel helpless. Let's channel our frustration into meaningful and impactful actions. What is it? Amal saleh, right? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I'll give you 5 points regarding civic duty of Amal saleh. Civic engagement and fighting for justice is Amal saleh. It's a righteous action. Prophet commanded us to use our power and agency to stop evil. He said, whosoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hands. If he's not able to do so, let him change it with his tongue. If he's not able to do so, let him change it in his heart. And that is the weakest of the faith. So that's your Amal saleh. You either speak out, you either use your hands, you speak out, or you show dissent through your heart. All prophets were sent to establish justice. So if you stand up for justice, this is indeed Amal saleh. From Adam to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, all messengers of Allah were commissioned to help people establish justice throughout the ages. As Allah tells us in Surah Hadid 57, verse number 25, certainly we sent our apostles with manifest proofs, and we sent down with them the book and the balance so that mankind may maintain justice. So Anbiya are sent to maintain justice. Guess what? You and I are here to also maintain justice. It's easy. Oh, it was their duty. Just like people will say, Imam Hussein, it was his specific duty for him to stand up in front of Yazid. No one else had that duty. It would be easy way out of that conflict. Allah ordered us to save lives. This ayat you've heard many times, so I won't even be reciting Surah Ma'idah, verse number 32, that if you say one, as if you have saved the entire humanity. In fact, let's just stop here. If you say one, whoever says that how much impact can I make, just take inspiration from this ayat. Your inspiration is to just save one. Why? Because Allah considers saving one as entire humanity. When you say, I drop one, drop of water onto this big fire, what am I going to do? If this much water puts out this much fire, you've done your job. That is amal saleh, in other words. Why don't challenge politicians? Go ahead and challenge them. That is your civic duty. When you challenge them, you're actually doing amal saleh. When we don't exercise our right to vote, don't express our grievance to policy makers, we give politicians pass on their involvement in zulm and injustice at home and abroad, civic engagement and advocacy are among the highest forms of amal saleh today, specifically in the environment that we are living in. So don't just look for amal saleh within your namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, khums, amr al-ma'ruf. No, amal saleh has a broader spectrum to look at. And lastly, what amal saleh can do for that is which is happening around the world. All of these things put together, I have some other stuff, inshallah, I'll continue the conversation, that it is important as far as each individual is concerned. That it's not the day and a time and a matter or place where we can just remain silent and say, well, this is another storm, it'll pass by, and things will be back to normal again. And then, after a few years, we'll start this debate again. There where now the wheels are turning, it's an opportune time to go ahead and use all the might that you have, every maneuver that you can do in order to go ahead and turn the wheels in your own directions. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh al maw'iza kitabullah a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وفاني السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معصية العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا فهو الصفحة نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو العطوف على العباد بجوده والعباد المذنبين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله على قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لصفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما يا آثار البدع والطغيان هادم ابنة الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آباء الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أحلو ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أحلو بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين فضل فذكرنا يعلم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله ربي من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم وقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا افرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jumu'ah Mubarak to you all. Inshallah, very quickly, I'll make some announcements. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Irfan and Zohrain Gangji. Please recite Surah Fatiha for the maghfirat of their marhumin as well as your own. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Very quickly, today a lot of events are happening. There's a fall festival family event at Bibi Sakina Daycare from 3:30 to 4:30. Free soft ice cream for all children. Come and check out the beautiful daycare while enjoying a wonderful event. So you're encouraged to bring your kids to this. It's going to be today from 3:30 to 4:30. Also tonight there's a children's program with Noor Kids. Salat inshallah on time at 6:20 p.m. followed by a workshop, The Superheroes That Changed My Life at 7 p.m. Inshallah, pizza food will be served to the kids towards the end of the program. Bring your books to be signed by Brother Amin Asir for boys and girls ages 9 and above. This is tonight after Namaz-e-Maghriban. So do join in this program. Also, there will be an event in relation to how to discuss Palestine, which will be Sunday, November 5th, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday, November 5th at 2 p.m. There will be panel discussion, and inshallah, you'll be given opportunity to ask your questions towards the end of that program as well. Lastly, weekend around, so Saturday and Sunday, start your day right with the Salatul Fajr. Saturday morning, after Fajr prayer, we have a Quran circle, we read Quran, we improve our recitation, and we discuss some tafsir briefly as well. Sunday, after Salatul Fajr, we have discussion on Nahjul Balagha, the words of Amirul Mu'mineen. Again, a brief discussion. That program does go online, so if you're unable to make it, it goes online as well, so you can tune in. But coming here, being part of the fraternity and taking part in the salat, and then of course the main event, which is the breakfast after the program, which is served downstairs. So you're all welcome to come. Salat Fajr is around 6:01, but the program starts at 6 o'clock, so you're more than welcome to join us. Masjid will be inshallah open from 6 to 7:30, 8 o'clock, whenever the program ends. So start your day right with Salatul Fajr, inshallah, as weekend is near us. Lastly, let's make dua for all of those people who are in need of du'as, those who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time, especially the people of Gaza who are on continuous persecution and the difficulty that they're facing. Let's recite a du'a-e-sihat and du'a-e-shifa for all of those people from the Surah Namal, ayat number 62 together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-muztarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-muztarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-mubtarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-mubtarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ يَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ أَإِلَٰهٌ مَّعَ اللَّهِ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعلني من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاضع فقير باعث مسكين مستقيم مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Today let's start a ziyarat of Imam Hassan Askari, the father of our Imam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabiullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alaikum Sayyidina Sallallahu Alameen. Assalamu alaikum ya Maulana Nabuwa Jumiyya wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Maula ya Hassan ibn Ali ya Hadi al-Muhtadi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Waliya wa ibn Awliya ya Hujjatullah wa ibn Hujjaj ya Safiyullah wa ibn Syed ya Khalifatullah wa ibn Khulafai wa ba Khalifate. Assalamu alaikum ibn Khatam Nabiyyin ya ibn Sayyid al-Sayyid ya ibn Amir al-Mu'minin ya ibn Sayyidin Sallallahu Alameen ya ibn A'immat al-Hadin. Assalamu alaikum ya ibn Usya Rashidin ya Ismat al-Muttaqin ya Imam al-Faizin ya Rukn al-Mu'minin ya Farh al-Jumahur ya Farh al-Marfufin. Assalamu alaikum wa aslam bi al-Muntajabin ya Assalamu alaikum khazina ilmi wasiyya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum ayyu da'i bi hukm Allah. Assalamu alaikum natiq bi kitabillah. Assalamu alaikum ya Hujjat al-Hujaj ya Hadi al-Imam ya Wali al-Ni'am ya Abat al-Ilm ya Safinat al-Hilm. Assalamu alaikum ya Abul Ma'am al-Muntazir zahirati lil-Aqil hujjatahu was-sabatati fil yakin ma'rifatahu al-mujab ana al-zalimina wal-mughayyib an-nalat al-fasikina wal-mu'id rabbana bil-Islam zid al-batil intamas वल कुरआन बादल इंदिरास अशहदु या मौलाया अन्नका अक़मत सलात व अतैत ज़कात व अमरत बिल मारूफ व नहैत अनिल मुनकर व दअउत इला सबील रब्बिका बिल हिकमति वल मौइज़तिल हसना व बतल्लाहु मुखलिसन हत्ता ताक़ीन अस्सलाल्लाहु बिशान लकुम इंदहु यतक़ब्बल ज़ियारति लकुम यशकुर साई इलैकुम व यस्तजीब दुआई बिकुम व यजअलनी मिन अंसारिल हक़ व अतबाई व शाई व वालिहि व बरकातहू। अस्सलाम वालेकुम साहिबुल असर व ज़मान या खलीफत रहमान या इमाम अल इंस वल जान या काबत अल ईमान या तफसील फुरकान। अस्सलाम वालेकुम या शरीक अल कुरआन। अस्सलाम वालेकुम इमाम ज़मानना अज्जलल्लाहु फरजक व सहलल्लाहु मखरजक व ज़हूरक व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू।